Gold's rally taking a bit of a breather over the past few weeks. However, halftime committee member Bill Baruch still sees a big opportunity there and elsewhere in the mining space. It's good to see you. So you just launched a new portfolio centered around mining. Tell our viewers more, please.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on about this. The idea here is gold, and we have a really great background in commodities. My team and I have worked really hard putting this together and working through this. We were great with materials, and we modeled it off. The exciting thing is we're modeling this off of our concentrated alpha portfolio I talk about on air often, and where we own no more than 10 names and can raise up to 50% cash. You know, for instance, NVIDIA was a 20% holding in that from 2022 on. Now, this is focused on mining, and we're going to do that same concept, own no more than 10 names. And I've talked about on there, too, gold's in a generational breakout, and we think there is still tremendous upside. Think about this. You know, gold represents 20% of all reserve assets of all central banks in the world. It's now surpassed the euro. And people have talked about Basel III for the last few years. It's been in works, but gold is now a tier 1 asset, actually, as of July of 2025. So this month, this actually began. These central banks are buying gold. And you know, mark my words, I mean, you're going to see gold begin to back currencies, some maybe down the road, back the Chinese yuan or a stable coin dollar. So really what this means is it expands, it makes it sticky cash flow margins for these miners. And we think we're in a tremendous super cycle for miners. So
hang on 2 seconds. Can we please put back up the list of the stocks that are in here? Because I want to make sure our viewers understand the actual names that are in your new portfolio. And I want you to talk about some of them, why specifically you think that it's Agnico Eagle, it's Newmont, it's Barrick, it's Core Mining, it's Wheaton, it's First Majestic Silver, because obviously it's beyond gold.
Yeah. Our focus is gold. We're lean heavy into gold. And what we are open, and we do think things like silver or potentially copper miners can make their way in there. But here it is from the top is AEM, Newmont, and Barrick. I mean, it's a three-headed horse race here, you know, and ultimately AEM, Agnico, is the best in breed. They have the best management. This stock has continued to break out to new record highs. I mean, the cash flow that these miners are seeing is going to continue to power them. But Newmont and Barrick, they do have some room to catch up. They can catch up. Newmont still has to reach its 50% below its 2022 high. Barrick, it's about 50% below its 2021 high. So we have these three-headed up top here, and they're our heaviest weight. We do acknowledge that we've seen a bit of a run this year, so we're taking our time and allocating to the portfolio and ramping it up here in the coming month. But these three up top, we like Wheaton Precious Metals. That's a WPM, a great, well-run company. Coeur, it's a Chicago-based company. I've talked about it on air before. We've owned it in our main portfolios on and off. Very well run by Mitch Krebs. They've actually made some tremendous acquisitions in silver, which leads me to talk about silver. We think silver has a lot of catching up to do to gold this year. Silver is just trading about $37. The gold-silver ratio has expanded out to 100, meaning gold has significantly outpaced silver. And we think silver can catch up. So First Majestic is in the bottom part of the portfolio, the bottom part of the 10 names. But we think that has a lot of volatility, but can really outperform to the upside if silver gets going. Yeah.
What'd you make of the president's 50% tariff on copper idea?
It came out as a surprise here. Luckily, you know, we're positioning in copper in our CTA, our metals CTA. That's something that I've talked about on air before. I just took it for face value that they're going to talk about this as being a 50% tariff. I think there's some leg room to work through this before it's official. You know, I think the market itself was pretty shocked. Good run. We monetized that move in copper, kind of waiting for it to settle in. I think the interesting thing here is if we're going to put those type of tariffs on the U.S. imports of copper, then we're to understand where is the mining capacity going to come from. Freeport, we own in portfolios right now, and the main portfolio that I talk about on air most often. And we think they're really in a tremendous position here. They have tremendous capacity, with the leading capacity here in the U.S. at their El Paso, Texas facility. So we like the move. I think it's going to continue to be volatile. And, you know, we're taking our face value right now as news evolves.
All right, good stuff. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate that. That's Bill Baruch. Just real quick, you own Newmont, so your thoughts on this grouping of stocks that he has put together?
Well, obviously, there's strong momentum right now behind the precious metals. Just real quick on copper, Morgan Stanley put out this morning, 36% of copper demand in the United States comes from imports. So let's be careful here. Freeport-McMoRan obviously is the play. Phoenix-based company, Southern Copper, another Phoenix-based company. Those are the plays to have the correlation to rising U.S. copper prices, but size your position accordingly. I think there might be some variance here. Chile, one of the largest exporters of copper to the United States. Do they get some relief from the administration? Look, this affects everything. This affects data centers. This affects automobiles, power generation. This is a big deal for the economy. Let's see what the details are as we progress towards August 1st.
All right.